So now we've done the exposure and the color. The next panel that we have is effect. Now effect, it starts off by texture, and texture is a new slider. Let me zoom in so you can see what it does. I love what texture is. And basically, if you move it to the right, it brings out the texture. Just as simple as that. Now, when it comes to, I really don't advise you to use it globally. Like, I don't like what it does here on the water. I love what it does here on the city, you know? And so I'll show you later on a way. So this is full texture all the way to the right, all the way to the left. It becomes kind of blurry. Now, I advise you to use this locally, and you will see that later on. Same thing with clarity. Clarity, so basically clarity is, I want to say it's kind of, we call that middle contrast. Look at what it does. It kind of gives like an illustrative, like if it was a drawing. It takes saturation out, and it makes the middle tones more contrasty. So that's all the way to the right. And if you go all the way to the left, it's very blurry. So clarity and texture are kind of similar, but they are not identical. Clarity is gonna be more an illustrative, desaturated look, and texture is gonna be more, basically makes the texture really scream at you. Both of these sliders, I highly recommend that you do not use them globally, but locally, and we'll see that later on. Same thing with dehaze. Dehaze, basically what it does, it adds it takes out if there's any haze, or it can add haze. We can add haze, or we can take out haze. Same thing, I would advise you to use that basically locally. Vignette, well, vignette is, let me show you what vignette does. If you go to the left, simply it makes this effect, which I really like. I love the vignette effect, but again, I like to do it locally. Grain, well, it's just gonna add grain. Check it out. It's gonna add grain, like, you know, the good old grain that you used to have in film. I personally don't like it. I never use it. Hold on, the vignette. I went the wrong way. So if you go the other way on vignette, you get a white vignette, which is kind of weird. I don't know why somebody would do that. So let's add maybe a little bit of vignette on this one. But again, we're going to be using texture, clarity, all of that, and not dehaze, not in this photo, but locally. Okay? So that's the FX slider. Now, details. Details is very important. Remember that we have some noise on this photo. I mean, the fact that we crushed the black to create, you know, got rid of most of it, but I'm afraid there is still a little bit of noise there. I mean, Canon 5D Mark II files used to be very noisy, and there's also like chromatic aberrations and things like this. That's something we're going to be dealing with in a sec. So for now, let's add some details. So I have a rule when it comes to noise and details. It's a formula I've been using for 15 years, which is that if a photo is a little bit noisy, I usually put noise reduction around 20. Okay, and then I do my sharpening around 80. Why? The idea is that sharpening plus noise reduction should be about 100. It's weird, and it makes a photo really sharpen. So sharpening is kind of similar to texture, except it really focuses on the edges of things, you know, like the contour of the boat, the contour of the city. It just makes them like more sharp. So it's a different animal than texture. Don't mix them up, okay? Now, that's... On this one, I think it works pretty well. And make sure you're zoomed in at 100% by just clicking on a photo when you use the sliders. Okay? And color noise reduction, I know I had a lot of color noise there hidden, so I'm going to use it like almost at 50%. You can go a lot more stronger on color noise reduction than noise reduction. If you go too much on noise reduction, look what's going to happen. It's going to make your photo blurry. Let me just overdo it so you can see what I mean. It's going to take out a lot of details. Check out, look at the city, for example, all the way to the left and all the way to the right. It doesn't make such a huge difference because of the sharpening. Let me put this back. All the way to the left, no noise reduction, full noise reduction. Full noise reduction. Yeah, it's funny. On Lightroom Classic, you can see, yeah, you can see it. It's, I don't think you can see it much on the video. But anyways, trust me on this. On this one, because it's an old 5D Mark II, I'm going to go all the way to 20 and all the way to 80. It's just a formula I've been using. Now, let's say it would be a very noisy photo, then I would probably go like to 40 and then 60, you know? That's just something I've been doing for 15 years. It's been working for me. And voila, so that's the effect panel and the detail panel.